Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Sanford Khan, live, talking to you for those who are there. Let's talk about the new prosperity agenda. I did a video on this about a few weeks ago, and this nation, and also in the state of California where I am, is caught up in this nonsense of class warfare, and envy. This sort of nonsense is destructive of wealth creation. It's destructive of entrepreneurship. So let's go over some of the things that I said in the video. I won't get to all of them. I'll just get a few highlights, maybe four of them. That's enough for now. And you can make comments on this. But it's important to disabuse yourself. If you want the country to grow and thrive, and take off like a rocket, you're going to have to get rid of this damn nonsense of class warfare and class envy. This sort of stuff does not make a country prosperous. It drags it down. We'll be fighting over an economic pie that'll be shrinking or at best growing very slowly. That's not what I want. I want the pie to be expanding rapidly, sucking in everybody from the bottom to the top. Wealth will be distributed. When the economy is growing, more opportunities are present for everybody, not just for the top, but for everybody. So if you have class warfare and class envy, you're not going to have the opportunities. You're simply not going to have it. So I'm going to bring up some things that are outside the mainstream. And you're going to have to change your way of thinking if you want the economy to grow and thrive and, like I said, take off like a rocket. You're going to really have to change your way of thinking. So what are some of the things I'm proposing? I'm going to look at my notes here because this is a hard copy of what I did on the video. One of the things is to completely eliminate the corporate income tax. The corporate income tax should be zero. Corporations don't pay taxes. You and I pay taxes. Individuals pay taxes. Corporations, they pay a corporate income tax that's on the books. I agree. But that tax is passed on to you as consumers in higher prices of goods and services, is passed on to the employees with reduced wages and benefits, and to the stockholders with reduced retained earnings and dividends. Get rid of the corporate income tax. Compared to the personal income tax, it's only about 15%. So let any monies taken out of the corporation, like in dividends, obviously salaries, but in dividends, be taxed at the ordinary rate of the person receiving it, whatever their income tax rate is. But corporations don't pay taxes. You pay taxes. Reduce the corporate income tax to zero. Secondly, capital gains tax, both long-term and short-term, should also be reduced to zero. This is not a gift to the wealthy. This is a gift to entrepreneurs, to startups, to new businesses. They can now, instead of issuing debt, they can issue stock. And there'll be a lot of investors who would want to buy the stock and take a chance because there's no capital gains tax. So money will rush into these new businesses. Most of them probably won't succeed at first, but so what? That's the nature of business. Most of them don't succeed. Some will. But the monies will be invested in businesses. What happens to these monies? These monies are used to pay wages and salaries. These wages and salaries will be taxed at ordinary income tax rates. That's how you do it. So you don't get the money from capital gains tax. You more than make it up through the personal income tax. That's how you do it. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine what would happen to this country, United States, if you got rid of the corporate income tax? Zero. And the capital gains tax? Zero. Could you imagine overnight you would have new businesses creating? New businesses, not the wealthy, but new entrepreneurs starting new businesses and hiring people. The country will explode. Besides that, money from overseas will flow into the United States. Why? Because the return is higher here than it would be overseas. If we have zero corporate income tax and zero capital gains tax, that's lower than what they have over in Europe and other parts of the world. Money will flow. Money seeks its highest return after tax return. They'll flow into here. Speaking of income tax, nobody likes paying taxes. If you're going to keep the same type of income tax, the top rate should be no higher than 25%. No higher than 25%. Better yet, go to a pure flat rate income tax of somewhere between 17 and 20%. Somewhere between 17 and 20%. A pure flat rate, which means that you have a large standard deduction. A large standard deduction for, let's say, the typical family of four, maybe $45,000, $50,000 for a typical family of four. And anything above that is taxed somewhere between 17 and 20%. There are no deductions, zero deductions for mortgage interest, charitable contributions, property tax, state income tax, whatever. Just none. Just pure flat rate income tax between 17 and 20%. It's so simple you can fill it out on a postcard. The other thing that should be eliminated, zero, is the inheritance tax, or commonly called the death tax. Why do you want an inheritance tax? It only sucks money out of the private sector. It goes to government. Most times it's wasted. Keep the money in the private sector and let it be reinvested in new businesses. The inheritance tax, death tax, should be zero. I'll do one more and I'll wind it up. Education is the key to success for anybody. Education doesn't mean college necessarily. It could be trade school, something like that. You don't have to go to college. You can learn a trade school, learn a trade, electrician, computer maintenance. You know what trade schools are like. Therefore, education is key. Therefore, if it's key, which I believe it is, and I believe you do too, then every parent and legal guardian of a school-age kid, that'd be kindergarten through 12, should receive a voucher where the parents or legal guardians could send them to the school of their choice, which would be a public, private, or parochial. You are not going to reform the educational establishment in this country until you introduce competition. It simply is not going to be done. Competition will force the educational establishment to change. Throwing money at it won't. Why? Think about it. If you're a school administrator and the state government is always throwing more money at you, you have no incentive to change. You have no incentive. But now if you have competition from private and parochial schools, you're going to change, or else you're going to lose the students. The parents and legal guardians will say, goodbye, sayonara, we're walking. And send my kid to a private school, a parochial school that's best suited for him or her. And in that type of school doesn't necessarily have to be the standard education. It could be a trade type environment. It would be orthodox, how should I put it? It would be centered around the needs of the kids, not the needs of the teachers' establishment or the teachers' unions or the educational bureaucracy. Anyways, that's about 5 of the items that I have. The video actually has 7, but I want to end it here. Your comments are always appreciated. But I remember, you got to think outside the box. If you want to think of class warfare and class envy, like I said in the beginning, we're going to be fighting over an economic pie that's either shrinking or growing very slowly. And that's not what I want. I want this new year coming up, 2021, and the rest of the decade to be the decade of the entrepreneur. Not the decade of the rich or the established, the decade of the entrepreneur, the small business person. I always appreciate you could pass this on to other people, and as usual, subscribe to my YouTube channel. We'll meet again. Take care now.